This is Bill Brady recording another video as part of the Kingship course. This particular video is about deliverance from fallen angels. I'm just proclaiming general principles here, general revelation. Now, we've been talking about various goals that God has for the Ecclesia, things that the Ecclesia does for the individuals that are in it, the place that leadership finds in an Ecclesia. But there are certain things that the Ecclesia does for the city that it's in. And this is going to be one of the ones that I will be talking about in this particular video. Deliverance from fallen angels. I'm going to show you two scriptures. These are really interesting scriptures. First, I'm going to talk to you, reveal to you one of the things that Yeshua did on the cross. There are many things, of course, that he did there. And so we'll take a look at this scripture. This is Colossians chapter 2, verse 15 in the New King James Version. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it. So Yeshua overcame principalities and powers. He disarmed principalities and powers, took the weapons out of their hands. He made a public spectacle of them so everybody can see that they're weaponless. And he triumphed over them. He overcame them. Now, there are 4 levels of fallen angels, and I haven't discussed this previously, and this is just a brief introduction. Thrones, dominions, principalities, powers. Thrones, dominions, principalities, and powers. Over a city, the 2 levels that are, I should say, thrones is the highest, dominions is the second highest, principalities is the third highest, and powers is the lowest. Over a city, the 2 main ones that you're going to have functioning are principalities and power. There's one principality over a city and several powers over a city. And an ecclesia is a citywide ecclesia, right? So Yeshua disarmed principalities and powers. The scripture doesn't say about whether he disarmed rulers and dominions. Whether he did or didn't is for discovery. But scripture specifically says that he did disarm principalities and powers. Very interesting. Now we're going to go take a look at another scripture, which is going to explain why I'm talking about this with respect to Ecclesias. So this is Ephesians chapter 3, verses 9 and 10 in the New American Standard Bible. And to enlighten all people as to what the plan of the mystery is, which for ages has been hidden in God, who created all things. Verse 10 is what I'm really emphasizing here. So that the multifaceted wisdom of God might now be made known through the church, through the ecclesia, the Greek word behind church, English word is ecclesia, so that the multifaceted wisdom of God might now be made known through the ecclesia to the rulers and authorities in the heavenly realms. The ecclesia has a God-given function to make the multifaceted wisdom of God known to the rulers and authorities in heavenly places. And especially in cities where ecclesia has a function to remove the influence, or maybe even come to the place of judging principalities and powers which are over the cities. But also the Universal Ecclesia has the God-given mandate to make the multifaceted wisdom of God known. Yeshua does this through the Ecclesia. Now, this is my own revelation. I've been reading Bruce Hines books. I should do a little bit of this and then go on to what I was going to say. I just want to show you in on Amazon. Pardon me for a moment. I had this set up and ready to go, and it's seemed to have lost my place here. Bruce Hines has a series of books called Secrets of Heavenly Realms. Let me get that exactly correct. I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but Exploring Secrets of the Heavenly Realms. There's about 10 books, and on Amazon, they are listed. It tells you which book is the first of the series and which is next and which is so on. I bought them pretty much all and have been reading here and there, picking around, figuring I knew something about this, and then I realized, hey, I better start at the beginning and get his argument, excuse me, get his argument that he's presenting in the order that he presents it, so I make sure I don't miss something that I thought I knew that I don't. So anyway, I'm reading his books, so I just want to recommend them to you, and that you start with the first one and go through to the last one. Okay, now back to what I was saying about principalities, powers, and so on. So highest is rulers, then dominions, then principalities, then powers. I'm not going to go into the details of what each does. I think this is a proclamation at this point, not an explanation. But the Ecclesia has the God-given mandate to make known to these four levels the multifaceted wisdom of God. This is something that Yeshua does through the Ecclesia. There are two ways that the Ecclesia does this. There is judgment of fallen angels. Bruce Hines teaches that this is something where you ask God to bring down the fallen angel to be judged that he wants to bring down. And then God does the judging of the fallen angel. The fallen angel is then cast someplace where it's completely out of circulation. Picture it like a chess game. A piece has been removed from the board. It's not going to have any influence at all. Eventually, what will happen is the Ecclesia, functioning as the Ecclesia, will remove all the fallen angels from the chessboard. There's a battle going on between light and darkness, between the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness, between God's kingdom and the kingdom of darkness. And eventually, the goal is that all fallen angels will be removed from their positions. They were given these positions before they fell, and after they fell, they're still in these positions. And Scripture does tell us very clearly not to speak against them. That's something that's very important to understand. Otherwise, you can become a needless casualty of war. You'll find this in 2 Peter and also in Jude, where Scripture tells us not to slander fallen angels. They do have God-given authority. It's just that they're not using it the way they should any longer. But as going back to, there's two ways. One is judging fallen angels, which removes them from circulation. But the other one is Ephesians chapter 6, I think it's verse 10, where Paul says we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, that's people that are functioning as our enemies, but against, and then he lists off four categories of fallen angels. So actually, the difficulties you're having, the enemies that are working against you, human enemies, all have fallen angels behind the scenes doing the puppet master thing, pulling the strings on the marionette. All human rulers that are not believers who have overcome are functioning as part of the cosmos, of the evil world system, and doing the bidding of the devil. This is unfortunate, but it is not meant to be a permanent situation. It is meant to be something that believers will overcome and remove all these fallen angels from all their positions. And this is something that the Ecclesia does, both universal and citywide. Citywide Ecclesia does this with reference to principalities and powers that are over their particular city. And then the Universal Ecclesia has functioned with respect to rulers and dominions, principalities, powers. So the current situation that we find cities in is because we have not yet, as ecclesias and as the universal, as citywide ecclesias and the universal ecclesia, we have not yet done our job of judging angels, judging fallen angels. And Paul says, don't you know you're going to judge angels? Well, many people don't. And people in Corinth didn't know, apparently, or maybe they needed to be reminded of it. This is something that is very, very exciting, because can you imagine how much easier evangelism will be once these hindrances are removed from the battlefield? Then all of a sudden, world evangelization becomes a possibility, or evangelization in your city becomes a possibility. And this is definitely something that if you are a leader in an ecclesia, you're an apostle or whatever your function is, I mean, you're an elder, you have one of those leadership positions in your ecclesia, it is worthwhile your attention to learn about this and teach your ecclesia how to do this, so that your ecclesia becomes a source of not just the deliverance from demons and angels, fallen angels for individuals, and healing and inner healing for individuals, but also it delivers your entire city from the evil influence of fallen angels, which is going to allow you to evangelize. Your citywide ecclesia is eventually going to include everybody in your city. I mean, we know from accounts and historical accounts of revival coming in cities where the police department ended up having absolutely nothing to do, and they ended up functioning as singing quartets in the churches because there was no crime to fight. I remember the story of the mules in the mines couldn't understand what the mule drivers were telling what to do any longer, because the mule drivers weren't swearing anymore, and the mules only knew the swearing commands, and they didn't know what this guy was trying to tell them to do when he wasn't swearing anymore, and they weren't swearing anymore. This kind of complete change of society is possible when fallen angels are removed out of the picture. So if you are a leader of an ecclesia, this is something you need to investigate. The function of your ecclesia with respect to wrestling and judging, wrestling against and judging. You personally wrestle against fallen angels, but you also can personally come to the place of judging fallen angels. And the ecclesia has a corporate mandate to remove the fallen angels from over their city. Now, again, this is something you need to very carefully learn how to do. Running off and functioning in this without really knowing what you're doing can result in you becoming a needless casualty of war. It can cost you your life. So this is not something you play at. This is something you seek revelation from God. I don't have all the revelation. I just see the possibilities. I see the big picture enough to be able to proclaim it and say, this is something that your citywide ecclesia has a mandate that it may not have walked into yet, but it does have a mandate to do this. And the Universal Ecclesia has a mandate universally with respect to fallen angels universally. Okay,